Good morning. Hello. Good afternoon. Good middle of the night. Welcome to More Yoga with me, Emily. Thank you for joining me today. I thought, well, let me restart. I get a lot of questions when I teach yoga about, sometimes my wrists really hurt through yoga, or I don't know what I can do to make this pain go away. And for most people, not everyone, but for a lot of people, this pain that you feel in your wrists in when you're doing yoga comes from one, a lack of activation of the muscles of the forearm, which will help protect the wrists anytime you're bearing weight on them, and two, overly tight forearm muscles. So this guy is the culprit often, right? The forearm. And it's the victim that cries out, not the culprit. So we'll get into the forearms a little bit today, and we're going to do a little test. So we're going to do a bunch of stuff before we get into the forearms, and then we'll do all of my forearm stuff, and then we're going to do the same things again at the end, and you can see if it helps or not. Hopefully it will. I think even for people with very slight issues, you'll feel quite a big difference. But that being said, for today, you will need either a ball or ideally a dowel or a broomstick handle or something like that. Once again, I've just unscrewed it from my broom so that I can use it later. Sound good? Doesn't matter because this is what you get. Sorry. Anyway, let's start laying down on our backs. You can draw your knees into your chest if you like. You might take a little rock from side to side and just maybe draw some hip circles. And I did a lot of talking, so we might not get into too much of a meditation at the start today. You can reach the legs up to the sky if that feels good. Point and flex through the ankles, through the toes. You might even reach your arms up to the sky as well. And you could draw circles with the wrists or fingers, any kind of movement that feels good here. It might look super weird, but it doesn't matter because I'm not watching. No one's watching. It's all good. And then bring your feet to the floor. Take the mat width apart and let your knees hang in toward each other. Arms can just do whatever they want, whatever feels comfortable for you. And take a couple deep breaths here. Inhale through your nose. Exhale, sigh. A breath away. A couple more. And continue breathing here. Just allowing the weight of the pelvis to settle into the floor. Make sure that your thighs or your knees are touching so that you don't have to use any muscular activation to keep your knees bent. Last breath. And gently start to bring a little bit of movement back. Draw your knee into your knees in toward your chest. A little rock from side to side. And then some of you might rock and roll up and down your spine with me. You could go shoulder blades to sit bones or might roll to one side. Either way, we're going to come up to hands and knees. So setting up with knees underneath your hips. Toes can be tucked or untucked. Hands outer shoulder width apart or wider. A little draw of belly button to spine, nothing too crazy. And then spread your fingers wide. And as you inhale, lift the tailbone. Hollow through the lower back. Wrap the shoulder blades toward each other. And then exhale, round through your spine. Tuck the tailbone under. Press the shoulder blades through. And then inhale to dip the belly. And exhale to round. So a couple more of these cat and cow undulations on your own time, on your own breath. And as always, if there's any other movement here that would feel really good, feel free to do whatever you need to do here. And then come back to center. Little draw of belly button to spine. Plant your right hand. Inhale the left arm up. And exhale, sweep it underneath the right. And then inhale back up. And exhale, sweep. And one more time. Inhale up. Exhale, sweep. And then bring the side of the shoulder to the floor, or your head. You might bring a pillow or a block or something underneath your head if you don't comfortably reach the earth. And then for today, take your right hand, bring the heel of the hand into the crease of the left wrist. And I want you to press down and away from you so that you're getting traction through the wrist, but also through the left arm. Last couple breaths here. And then bring your right hand back underneath you. Press yourself back up. Little wiggle, little shake. Plant the left hand. Inhale the right arm up. Exhale, sweep underneath the left. Again, don't get too cozy. Inhale back up. Exhale, sweep. And then once more. And again, start to settle. Maybe bringing that left or right shoulder down and the head, and then propping however you need to, but bring that heel of the left hand into the crease of the right wrist, and then start to draw down and away. Last breath here. And then walk your left hand back underneath you. Press yourself back up, little wiggle, a little shake. Tuck your toes behind you. And then inhale, lift the hips up and back into a downward facing dog. You can pedal the heels here if you'd like to. Wag the tail a little bit from side to side. Get as much release through the lower body as you can so that you can start to concentrate a little bit more on how this feels on your wrists. Little draw of belly button to spine. And spread the fingers super wide. I want you to grip the mat with the fingertips, really root the pointer knuckle mound down. Creates a little pocket in the palm of the hand, and it's this activation of the forearms that can really help protect your wrists anytime you're bearing weight on them, whether it's in yoga or if you're doing push-ups. Fingers spread nice and wide. Last couple breaths here. Hug the upper arm bones toward each other. And then you want more of the weight in the hands going toward the fingers than in the heel of the hand. If the weight's in the heel of the hand, you're just going to crunch those little bones in the in the wrist. Okay. Bend your knees, look forward, and then gently walk, step, or hop to the top edge of the mat. A little wiggle, a little shake, standing forward fold. I almost always do this every day in yoga, regardless of what we're working on. It feels like such a nice release, so long as your knees are bent and you're not just hanging out here without any hinge at the hips. So hips back, knees bent. And then release your hands with fingertips to your shins, or maybe your blocks to the earth. Inhale, little partway lift, and exhale, fold. A couple more. And bend your knees. Slowly start to roll up to standing, one vertebra at a time. Slow as you need to go. Wiggle or shake as you roll up. Once you get up to the top, a couple loops of your shoulders, up, back, and down. Wiggle, release whatever you need to. And then find a couple breaths in Tadasana. And then notice how you're standing. Just where the weight is in the feet. If one leg is more bent than the other. Just stuff to notice. And then inhale, sweep the arms up to the sky. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, fold, bend your knees. Plant your hands and just come down to hands and knees. Okay, so now is when you're going to need to grab your ball or your dowel. And then I want you to do a thumbs up. And then it's this muscle in particular that can crunch the bones of the wrist. But we're going to get into all of the extensors of the forearm, right? If you're working at a desk or at a mouse all day, these muscles get really tight. I'm going to use the dowel because I find it a little bit more effective, but I'll show you how to use both. Now it gets a little bit tricky to get into these muscles. Sometimes I'll roll it on a wall, but you have to take the forearm and flip it on to the dowel. So you might be in a slightly strange position. And I just want you to roll, slowly roll on the dowel. This is a very blunt instrument, and these muscles are quite small and tender, depending on what you do. So you might, need to go a little bit more gently. For those of you who are using a ball, similar theory, it just is a little bit more wobbly. I'm going to bring my dowel back onto my mat so it doesn't slide, it actually rolls. And then you can find spots that feel, let's call it interesting. And you might pause on them. Maybe you add a little bit more pressure or downward pressure with the arm. Maybe kind of pulse back and forth on those areas. The only, so I don't want to roll quite right on the wrist, just above it. And then really the best part is this meaty part of the forearm up by the elbow. So you can rock a little bit side to side, getting into those spots that, again, might feel a little bit more interesting than you would expect. Last couple breaths on the first side. Okay, and then come back to center. Give yourself a little rub, and then down, 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 and then just pause. Eyes open or closed, palms up or down. Just notice whatever you notice from one side to the other. And then let's switch sides. So whatever side you were starting on, whether you're using the ball or the dowel, maybe you do that thumbs up so you can find that flexion and the through the radius, and then, well, the muscles, you don't flex your bone, but the muscles that attach along the radius. And then one side might feel easier than the other. There might be there's the same number of tightnesses, but in different spots from one side to the other. Generally, not always, but generally the side that you are handed. So if you're right-handed, that's going to be the tighter side than if you're left-handed. But then that means that the side that isn't tight is generally a little bit weaker. Anyway, last couple breaths rolling on this second side, finding those delightful spots to pause on. Okay, and then when you're done, Let's take the dowel off. And then same thing, just sit back and notice whatever you notice. Oh, wait, let's rub it out. Sorry. And then down. And now, sit back and notice whatever you notice. You might not notice any difference. That's totally fine. Okay, come back to hands and knees. I'm going to be demonstrating this on the wood, but it's best if your fingers can be on the mat because you'll get a little bit more grip with this, but that's okay. Also, it'll be a little bit more cushioning. So come to hands and knees. Spread your fingers wide, right? If your fingers are like this when you're on hands and knees, all that pressure is going to go straight into the heel of the hand, into those wrist bones. So spread the fingers nice and wide. And then just rock here, side to side, forward and back. Right? It shouldn't feel too stressful here because this is a position that we're quite used to being in. I'll start to turn the fingers sideways, and then same thing. And depending on how your bones attach, maybe you can start to go back a little bit. Maybe if you are hypermobile, you go all the way back. It doesn't necessarily matter. Just go wherever you need to go. You can play with bending and straightening the elbows. And then slowly come back to center. Shake it out a little bit. And then come back to center. And I want you to come now onto your fingertips. And then we're going to start to claw the floor or the mat like a cat. So start to claw, right fingertips. And there's a lot of force toward the center here. So you're really flicking the fingers toward each other as you do this. On the other side. And then maybe both at the same time. A little bit of core activation here. Okay, now pause. And then imagine you're still trying to flick the fingers toward each other. So you're kind of gripping, trying to make that fist or that grasping motion. But you're going to slowly slide the palms down to the floor. And look how nice and wide those fingers can get when you do this. Really, really active clawing the mat with your finger pads. Last breath here. Okay, and then go ahead and shake it out a little bit. You can do these sort of, I call them tennis circles. I don't know, maybe just because when I did tennis, we did this. Write in, let me know. Okay, shake it out. Come into standing forward fold. Inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, let it go. Charge your legs. Inhale, sweep all the way up to the sky. Exhale, hands to prayer. All right, shake it out a little bit. A little draw of belly button to spine. And then bring your arms forward in front of you, palms facing down. Now, as soon as we go into that position, we kind of turn into this zombie apocalypse, right? With the shoulders back. So send the shoulders back over the hips, squeeze the bum, belly button to spine. Nice tall posture. You're just going to start to flick your fingers. Flick, 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 flick. As much and as fast as you can. So this is relative. You don't have to go as fast as me, or if you're practicing next to someone, you don't have to go as fast as them, as fast as you can. Now keep it going. Now it's like single hand claps. If you did my handstand prep class, we did this. Inhale, overhead, flick. Little drop, belly button to spine. Make sure your posture is good. Keep flicking. And then clap. And it might start to feel interesting as we do this. Fingers out to the side, flick. And clap. Oh, it might start to slow down. That's okay. Go as fast as you can and keep going. I'm doing this with you. Last time, overhead flick. And clap. 3, 2, 1, pause. Palms face down, elbows bent. Slowly lower your arms to your side. Really, really slowly. And then a couple breaths with the arms by your side, eyes open or closed. You might notice your forearms feel a little bit fired up right now, a little bit lit up. And that's a really fantastic exercise that you can do anytime you're going to be bearing weight. So you could do it even before every yoga class, or if you know you've got a lot of burpees or push-ups or something at the gym, do some of that stuff first. Or if you want to practice handstand, do this and it'll get your forearms so fired up. They'll be really strong and it'll help protect your wrists. Okay, so now we've done the mobilization. We've done the activation of the fingers, the forearms, the stretching. Let's see if downward facing dog feels any different. So top edge of the mat. Inhale, sweep up to the sky. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, little part way lift. Exhale, fold. Bend your knees, plant your hands, step back, downward facing dog. Okay, exhibit B. How does it feel for you now? Do you feel like maybe you're stronger here? That you have a little bit more activity, a little bit more space even? I certainly feel like the weight is more up in the fingertips, or at least my knuckles, and out of the heels of my hand. I can feel quite a bit stronger here. Walk your toes back a little bit. Inhale, ripple forward, high plank. Knees up, squeeze the bum, belly button to spine. Squeeze the tops of the thighs. Inhale here. Exhale, downward facing dog. Let's do a couple of those. Inhale, ripple forward, high plank. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale to plank. Exhale, down dog. 2 more. Last one. And then downward facing dog. Maybe showing your stance again. Cool. On your inhale, lift your right leg high. 3-legged dog. Exhale, knee to nose, shoulders over wrist, hips high. Inhale, back up. Exhale, right knee to right armpit or elbow, hips high. Inhale, back up. Exhale, draw the knee across to the opposite side. Inhale, back up. Exhale, knee comes to nose, and then pause, press the floor away from you. And then exhale, step right foot to your right thumb. Back knee can be up or down. Inhale, come up for a low lunge. Give those hands, those shoulders a little bit of a break. Squeeze the bum, belly button to spine, sink forward into lunge. You can always have hands on blocks or prop a cushion or pillow under the back knee. Last couple breaths here. Maybe you reach the arms up to the sky. And then slowly shift your hips back, extending through the front leg. Belly button to spine, half splits. You might stay here with hands on hips. You might deepen it a little bit, bringing hands to blocks or whatever props you might have. Tupperware containers. Maybe fingertips to the floor. Wrap the left hip forward. Draw the right hip back. Last breath here. And then inhale, ripple forward again. Step to the top edge of your mat, standing forward fold. Little wiggle, little sway. Inhale, lift up, part way. Exhale, fold. Inhale, sweep all the way up to the sky. Exhale, right back down to the earth. Inhale, little part way lift. Exhale, fold, bend your knees, plant your hands, step back, downward facing dog. Inhale, ripple forward, high plank. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, high plank. Exhale, down dog. 2 more. Spread those fingers wide. Inhale, lift the left leg high. Exhale, knee to nose. Inhale, back up. Exhale, left knee to left armpit or elbow. Inhale, back up. Exhale, draw the knee across to the opposite side. Inhale, back up. Exhale, knee comes to nose, and then pause. Press the floor away. Exhale, step left foot to thumb. Back knee can be up or down. Inhale, come up for lunge, low lunge, high lunge, wherever you need to go. Shake out the hands. Squeeze the bum, belly button to spine. Shift the weight forward. Same activations, even if the back leg is lifted. You're still squeezing the bum. You're still Drawing belly button to spine. Last couple breaths here. On your exhale, shift your hips back, extending through the front leg, half split. Hands could be on hips, or on the blocks, or on the floor. Keep wrapping the right hip forward as you draw the left hip back. Good. And then inhale, rock forward again. Step to the top edge of your mat, standing forward fold. A little wiggle or bounce. For 3 breaths, inhale, lift up part way. Exhale, let it all go. 2 more. Okay, heel and toe the feet apart quite a bit wider and on an angle. And on your inhale, sit down into squat or malasana. So, as always, this might not be where you want to be today, in which case, take the feet out wider. Rest your hands or your elbows on your knees or thighs. But I'm going to show you something that can really work to also help release the wrists. If you have been doing a lot of weight bearing on your hands, for example, if it's handstand practice day or handstand push-ups, or you just feel like they're tight, this takes a little bit of mobility and a little bit of faith that you're not going to fall over. But you come out of squat and then cross your forearms, and then you bring your wrists behind your knees, right? And then start to sit down into squat again. Oh, okay, so now you've got the weight of your upper body kind of getting into those wrists, right? Giving you a little bit of traction, a little bit of separation there. If this doesn't work for you, then don't do it. It's okay. Last couple breaths. And then gently release. Sit down. Oh, shake it out a little bit. You can bring the back of the hands together. And then do a couple of those tennis rolls. Can you go both directions? I find it very difficult to go the opposite direction. And then shake it out. Come down onto your back. Hug your knees in toward you. Little rock from side to side. You can shake it out a little bit. And now, bring your hands palm face down underneath your butt. So your butt is right on top of the wrists. Extend your legs. Flex your toes toward you. Belly button to spine. Hug the legs toward each other. They might not touch, but they're really active. And then start to think of wrapping the shoulder blades toward each other on the back. This is step 1. Some of you might lift up a little bit here into kingfish pose. Some of you might start to walk the forearms right or elbows right underneath you. Really start to wrap the shoulder blades toward each other. Then maybe you dip the head back. It might not touch the floor. It might. It's okay wherever you go. Last couple breaths. And then very, very slowly, gently start to release back to the floor. Take your hands out from underneath you. Shake it out a little bit. Draw your knees toward your chest. And if there's anything else you feel like you need before your rest, please feel free to take it. It could be some sort of extension, or flexion of the spine. Maybe you take a butterfly pose, because we didn't get into the hips very much. Maybe you rest on your side, or flat on your back, or in a seated meditation, wherever you need to go. Once you've found your pose of rest, for 3 breaths, inhale deeply through your nose. Exhale, sigh, a breath away. Couple more just like that. And then let go of all breath control, all muscle tension or gripping. Know that any time that those wrists start to feel sore, you can do any or all of those things that I showed you today. They're all really great tips or tricks, especially the rolling. Stay here longer if you can, 5 or 10 minutes. Thank you so much for joining me today. Namaste.